What's up guys and girls, welcome to another video. In God of War 2018, Ragnarok, even Valhalla, there's been a talking point within the games that Kratos is a monster. I want to explore this conversation and theme within the games. There seems to be two sides of this argument, what the games are trying to tell you versus how a lot of the fanbase feels. Both sides have compelling arguments, but let's start with what the story has to say about Kratos. The beginning of a story is supposed to open with an idea or a goal that is pretty much what the entire story is going to be exploring. God of War 2018 starts with Kratos destroying a marked tree, which causes his bandages to fall. Kratos takes a moment to reflect before wrapping them back up, and when he's in the process of wrapping them up, he hides it from Atreus. The reason why this scene is so important, it shows how Kratos views his past. Ashamed. Remember, those bandages covers up the scars that will never heal, the scars that were burned into him when he first got the Blade of Chaos. This is how the developers want the players to see that Kratos really hates his past and what happened in the Greek era. As you play through the game, you see and hear more and more about how Kratos views his past actions and how he feels about himself. Moments like Kratos telling Atreus in the cave right after the Baldur fight, "There are no good gods." Or the moments like Tyr's treasure room, where Kratos is telling Atreus he must be better than him. It's clear Kratos hates himself and thinks very little of himself because of what he did. Which brings us to the Athena scene, where Kratos has to retrieve the Blades of Chaos. He begins talking to an imaginary Athena. Now Athena appears because it is a great source of pain for him. Kratos' pain is being personified into the image of Athena here. The conversation that happens in this scene, every word Athena is speaking is a side of Kratos that is speaking to himself. She tells him he's just pretending and that he will always be a monster that he cannot change. Kratos responds to this side of himself, saying he is a monster, but he's no one's monster.
You will always be a monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
There's a part after Baldur dies where Kratos says to Atreus that they will be the gods that they choose to be and that they must be better. And of course, every single time Kratos says these lines that we must be better or you must be better, Kratos is implying that he's a bad person, that he is a monster. And what I love about God of War 2018, the way it ends, this negative side, this self-doubt that Kratos has for himself never actually gets resolved. He ends the game saying that, "I have nothing left to hide." And that's why in Ragnarok he doesn't keep secrets anymore, but this negative side never gets resolved. In God of War Ragnarok, there's a moment where he talks to Freya and he tells her that I am nobody's monster.
I killed to protect my son, to aid my friends. But I will be no one's monster. Never again.
When he's saying this, what he's trying to tell Freya is that he is a monster, but he's a monster without a leash. Valhalla was all about Kratos finally, after 2 long games, actually tried to come in terms with the things he did. But at the end of Valhalla, he still believes that he is a monster. And this is why he talks to himself the way he does in the final cutscene as he's confronting himself. He calls him like the god of pain. Kratos is finally talking to himself, finally confronting himself. Throughout the 3 Norse games, Kratos is always looking at the past as if he is a monster who destroyed a mythology for no reason. But I want to go to the other side, a side I even find myself on. Kratos is not a monster, but a victim, something even Mimir agrees with. After Kratos sees Zeus in the sky in Helheim, Mimir tells Kratos the Pantheon had it coming.
I finally understand. I'm dangling from the hip of the bloody ghost of Sparta.
Do not call me that.
Oh, don't mistake me, brother. From what I heard, the Pantheon had it coming.
Mimir's statement is exactly how a lot of the fanbase feels when it comes to Kratos' past. Kratos is not a monster, but a victim of trickery, a victim of slavery, a victim of betrayal, a victim of the gods and Olympus. Kratos viewing his past as him being a monster is the opposite of how a lot of people feel. Kratos lost his wife and daughter by his own hands, tricked by his master Ares. He wanted to forget his memories, and he went into a life of servitude for years. He had to confront and push away his dead child in the afterlife, had to put down his long-lost mother, and watched his long-lost brother die moments after he reunited with him. Over and over, Kratos has suffered, endured, and dealt with pain. His anger grew and grew, and when he was Greece's god of war, that anger reached a boiling point, which caused him to become worse than Ares. Zeus came down and attacked Kratos, killing him and killing his Spartans. And yes, maybe he was justified in stopping Kratos because Kratos was just out of control. But the reason why Kratos was out of control to begin with is the torment the gods put him through. Fans see this regret he has for his past in the Norse Saga and are just kind of confused. Why would he be calling himself a monster constantly and consistently if he is just a victim of the gods' cruelty, which caused him to eventually get his revenge? So which is it? Is he a victim or is he a monster? This is an extremely tough question, but one thing you have to realize is that the Norse mythology games is not the first time Kratos has hated himself. In fact, the very first game, hell, the very first scene of the entire franchise is Kratos throwing himself off a ledge, hating himself for the things that he's done. Kratos' mental health since the start of this 20-year-long franchise has always been the front of the God of War series. The first thing we learned about Kratos on a personal level is he viewed himself as a monster. That's why he wanted to forget his memories, the hatred for himself, the hatred of this monster he had become ever since he killed his family. Even before that, he was killing innocent people while serving Ares. God of War did not start right off the bat of Kratos wanting revenge. This has always been a story about someone who wanted to forget who he was because he believed he was a monster. It's why he submitted himself to slavery. All of Kratos' trauma, all of it stems from the fact that he believes he is a monster. And Kratos could finally get his way out. He can finally forget who he was and forget what he did to his family. All he had to do was kill Ares and the gods will finally grant him his request. But even after he killed Ares, he couldn't take it anymore, and when he went to the gods, they denied him again. And this time he wanted to unalive himself, ending the monster. So, is Kratos a monster is not a simple black and white answer. The answer lies somewhere in the middle. The reality is Kratos is a monster and a victim. Kratos is justified in killing all the gods. Kratos got his revenge after losing everything dear to him. However, is he justified in taking the lives of potentially millions of people when he got his revenge? People who had nothing to do with his struggle. Was he justified in giving up his soul to Ares, which went on a spree of Kratos killing and destroying people and their homes for no real reason other than Ares pointing the finger telling him to do it? One of the things I hate seeing is when people take that scene where Kratos says he killed many people who deserved it and others who did not, and kind of twist it saying that the gods deserved it. But he's not just talking about the gods, he's talking about the millions of lives he took as well. Kratos in the Greek games once said he cares nothing about the mortals, all that matters to him is revenge. However, after he finally killed Zeus, there was no proud moment, there was no moment of celebration or even happiness. The moment Zeus finally died, all he can do is stare at his destruction in silence, as the storms in front of him raged on. When Athena comes, she tells him that she wants to spread her message, and Kratos looks at her and says, "What good is your message?" The ending version of God of War 3 is so much different than the entire Greek saga. Kratos is showing concern for the mortals and everything that he's put them through. Kratos has gained clarity, and what he finds is that he truly is a monster. And all of that negativity we saw in 2018 Ragnarok and Valhalla, all of that stems from this one moment. Yes, Kratos is justified in killing the gods, but Kratos has done some terrible and awful things he'll never be able to forgive himself for. And that is why I love this story. That is why Kratos is my favorite character, because out of all the PlayStation characters, I think Kratos is the strongest, but he is the most flawed. He is the character with the most depth. He's always had depth to him, and the games just continue to build on this character of Kratos. What I love about the finale of God of War 3 is that Kratos takes out the blade of Olympus and he aims it at Athena. Athena is terrified. She knows that this is the end, and the players know that Kratos is about to kill her because we have just slaughtered all the gods in this game, but he doesn't. He intentionally misses, points the blade at himself, stabbing himself and giving hope to the mortals. Not because he wants to redeem himself at the very end, but because he made them suffer and he feels for them. Getting his revenge didn't do anything for him. He still feels nothing. So is Kratos a monster? Kratos believed he was a monster in the Greek games. He believed he was a monster in the Norse games. Kratos is a monster. He is a monster of the gods' creation. He is a monster who had no choice but to be one. He is a monster because he has always believed he is a monster. A monster and a victim can be one and the same thing, but the end never justifies the means. He is the true God of War. I hope you all really liked this video. I really enjoyed scripting it out, typing it all up. I really appreciate a subscription and a like if you want to see more stuff like this. I want to do more longer form analysis videos. I've always loved doing this type of stuff. I'm gonna be out of here. Thank you guys and girls for listening. Deuces.